Now, more AD on the radio.
Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you my musical savior. Back once again, your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me. Back once again, the ill behavior, delivering and giving you a musical savior. Back once again, your boy AD, and can't nobody rock a body better than me.
So I'm really excited for you to check out the conversation I was fortunate enough to have with Tommy Vext of Bad Wolves. Doubtless you've heard his version of Zombie coming out of every single stereo around you all summer long. But his story is a remarkable one, and we'll get into it in just a little bit after we check out the latest from his band Bad Wolves. It's Hear Me Now.
Come let me up, 'cause I brought a flower for you. Your friends are faded, let me fill up your cup and toast to the stars over the oceans flow away, emotions in the air. I don't wanna live for nothing, just wanna be something. I never knew what it took to win. I don't wanna live for nothing, just wanna be something. I never knew we'd be more than friends.
We spin the bottle till we're kissing our cups.
Felt like I'd die for you.
You can't explain it, it's been years since we've touched.
And I waited 9 for you.
I don't wanna live for nothing, just wanna be something. I never knew what it took to win. I don't wanna live for nothing, just wanna be something. I never knew we'd be more than friends.
Come with me up.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Oceans flow away, emotions in the air. I don't wanna live for nothing, just wanna be something. I never knew what it took to win. I don't wanna live for nothing, just wanna be something. I never knew we'd be more than friends. Come let me up,
Can you hear me now?
come let me up,
I'm about half a block away out.
come let me up.
Can you hear me now?
Come let me up,
I'm about half a block away out.
come let me up,
Can you hear me now?
come let me up,
I'm about half a block away out.
come let me up.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I am lucky enough to be joined by the unbelievably talented Tommy Vext of Bad Wolves here as we get ready for the show with them, Five Finger Death Punch, Breaking Benjamin, and nothing more. Tommy, welcome to the show. Thank you for hanging out. Welcome to San Diego.
Oh, thank you for having me. That was quite an intro. I feel like I've got a lot to live up to tonight.
Well, hold on just a cotton picking minute because I've been following you with great interest for many years, only because
Benny, it's
yeah,
only because I'm old.
well, I mean, just because you're an incredible vocalist that's
thank you.
sort of been around the block a little bit. I had to write all this stuff down. So Divine Heresy, you were in Snot a couple times.
Yes.
Westfield Massacre, Vext. You did a stint as Five Finger Death Punch's vocalist.
Yes, sir.
And now Bad Wolves.
Yes, sir.
And if you're like me and everybody else that I've talked to about this, everyone's always known you're like this absolutely incredible vocalist, incredible presence, amazing front man.
Oh, thanks.
And it seems like everyone's just been waiting for the right thing for you to jump off the way it has with Bad Wolves.
Yeah.
What's that been like?
I mean, sometimes it feels like it's happening to somebody else. You know, I mean, the whole band is, we're all friends. You know, so all the guys in the band are all metalheads. We're all from veteran bands. You know, Kyle's played in This Moment and Scar the Martyr with Joey Jordison, ex-Slipknot, and Vimix as well. Obviously, John is a founding member and, you know, wrote most of the best of the material of Devil Driver. John plays every instrument. He's like a musical genius. And Doc from God Forbid, you know, longtime friend of mine. We've been friends since we were kids. You know, we've been jamming together since we were like 22 years old. And then, you know, and Chris played in Bury Your Dead, and you know, he's like also a super tech for like much bigger like pop stars and rock stars and stuff. So it's like, it's just this kind of crazy thing where we've all been in the industry so long and kind of doing our own thing and chipping away that we had no idea that this was going to blow up in the way that it did. And, you know, we're just taking it one day at a time, you know?
Yeah, no, I mean, the thing about you guys that I think probably surprises a lot of people, you step on stage with a lifetime of experience, and you know, you are veterans, and that's going to come across when you play live. But for all the bands that you've talked about, it's a different kind of success than the one that you're experiencing right now, where like my mom told me she liked, you know, your version of Zombie the other day. I was like, what?
My mom got a free tattoo because of Zombie.
Right.
Yeah. She went to get her first tattoo. My mom's 69 years old, and she has a picture. I flew my mom to Disneyland a couple years ago for Thanksgiving, and we took a picture in front of the Ferris wheel, and it's her screensaver. And she was looking at her phone while she was getting tattooed, and the guy was like, "How do you know the Bad Wolves singer?" And she's like, "That's my son." And the artist was like, "Your money's no good here, ma'am." So she called me and was like, "Tommy," well, you know, we're from Brooklyn, and she's still got a thick accent. She's like, "Tommy, you're famous. I'm so pretty. I got a free tattoo." And I'm like, "Ma, when did you get a tattoo?" You know, so it's like
as soon as it became free, thanks to you.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Leave the stimulation to the professionals.
Everyone is so smart.
KBRC, more stimulating talk radio.
There's something happening here, and you should know what it is. The dumbing up of America.
Now, more AD on the radio.
We now return to our inspirational chat with Tommy Vext of Bad Wolves. If you had to, given the depth of your musical experience, if you had to pick one maybe band or one show that you went to or a record or maybe even a TV appearance or something like that that made you go, this is it, music is it, I must do music with my life. Can you pick out what that would be?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it happened early on. I think it was like the first time I played CBGB's in 1996, and I was 14 years old in my first hardcore band. And I remember we hadn't even got there yet, and I think we stole my bass player's mom's car to drive the gear to the show. And then we had fake IDs because we weren't allowed to play.
At CB's?
Yeah. And it was like a Tuesday night. And I remember like driving on the Gowanus Expressway and looking at Manhattan and just being like, this is it.
This is the life.
As a little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just like the struggle. Like, you know, it's for a lot of artists, you know, like yourself, people who are creative, it's for us, it's like once you're a pickle, you can never be a cucumber again. It's too late.
That's a really good way of describing it.
It's just too late. And so, you know, once even as a child, I've tried, you know, I have other business ventures and I own 2 companies and I do other things. I have ancillary income and businesses outside of the music industry.
Hold on, wait. I'm just writing down that word so I can use it later and appear smart. Somebody make a note of the word ancillary, please.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
as in not primary sources of income, which enable me to make and create music the way that I want to without being told what it should sound like. But yeah, so I had taken breaks from music, and it's just like, it's almost like losing your arm. You're like still living and doing life and stuff, and my life was great, and I was like doing all this stuff, and I got involved in helping a lot of people, and that became my business. But there was just, I felt like I was missing my arm. Right. And then I picked up a microphone again, and I was like, oh yeah,
that's who I am.
Yeah.
That's what it's a weird thing, because there's teeny little bit that I've done of this sort of thing. There's absolutely no substitute for it. It's one of those things where you could be creative, and maybe you could paint a picture, or maybe you could write a book, or maybe you could but there is literally no substitute for the feeling that you get from playing to a crowd that goes off, whether it's 50 people or 500 people or 500 or however, like it's literally a feeling that is impossible to replicate. Lemmy from Motorhead talked about that. He's like, that's it. When you break through to people, it's literally everything. It's good. Take note, kids. You want a form of ancillary income if you want to be a musician and be able to carry it on in the fashion that you would like to do, the way Tommy does.
Make sure that you find a way to make over $100,000 a year, and then spend half of that on your band. And you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it back, and then do that for 20 years, and then maybe it'll happen.
You paint such a rosy picture.
Well, it just takes what it takes. You know what I mean? The industry's changed, and so a lot of people complain about it. You know, they're like, people don't buy records and this and that. And that hasn't been my experience on every level. You know what I mean? And I think also, too, people who get into being in music, who they want to be a rock star and hook up with hot chicks and have all this money, it's now because it's so real, and so it's more working class for the artists are working class.
Yeah.
You have to love it. And so the playing field gets cleared, and only the people who are lifers survive and stay in this thing.
Yeah.
And so for all the other lifers, all the guys that are out there that are like trying it and it's not working and trying, do not quit before the miracle happens. And this is why. The art that these guys are creating, they're tinkering around in their basements and in their apartments and stuff. They are creating the music of the future, and they don't even realize it now. And it's discouraging, because the industry is having a hard time recognizing what the next thing is going to be, mostly because everyone's afraid of losing their job. And in our circumstance, we were recognized by a rock star. Zoltan Bathory found this band. We've all been friends with Zo for a long time, and he said this band needs to be heard, and he took it to 11/7, and Alan, our label owner, heard what he was talking about, and they were like, this doesn't sound like anything. There's a space for this. We need to put this out. You know, it may be, and with the exception of songs like Hear Me Now and Zombie, our record is a metal record. It's brutal. You know, it pulls from all the traditions of like the classic Slipknot and Fear Factory, Slayer and Pantera records, and old Metallica, including Meshuggah, and the new school bands like Periphery. And you know, there's this weird amalgamation of different influences over the course, because we love metal. So it's like from the beginning to now, and we listen to all these different bands, and they influence us. And you know, it was picked up. It was another artist, and so we always encourage other artists to like come to signing booths, bring your demos and your shit to our show, and give it to us. Yeah, we listen to it.
Yeah, no, it's funny. Like I think it might have been Jim Brewer who said, like, he was like, this is how comedy and show business in general works. You work really, really, really hard for 10 to 15 years, and then a friend gives you a job. And like, you know, it's just like you're creating, you're putting in the work, and eventually someone will wind up giving you that break. And it's amazing to think about how many, even guys like Dave Grohl, like I think he said he wrote Learn to Fly, and he was like, it's all right, maybe a B-side, certainly not going on the record. And a lot of times artists creating their own music are too close to it to recognize what they're sitting on. And his record label went, you're either crazy or deaf or both. This is huge, and it's going to take your Foo Fighters thing to the next level. And they were absolutely right. So I guess
for example, Zombie almost was not on our record.
How close did it come to not being on the record?
Really close twice. At first, I didn't want to put it on the record because I'm a huge Cranberries fan, and I didn't think it was good enough. So the reason why we sent it to Dolores was for her approval.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, because you got her approval on it. So,
well, then she wanted to sing on it, and then obviously she was scheduled to sing on it and passed away the night before she was scheduled to record.
Yeah.
So then, again, that happened, and we were like, well, we definitely can't put it out now.
Yeah.
And we got with the label, and our label owner used to manage the Cranberries through most of their career, and that's how we came to the solution of we should honor her and we should put the song out, but her children should get the money. And then we were like, those are the conditions by which we put it out.
Yep.
And then the whole entire, the world metal rock community got behind it.
Yeah.
And it's been this crazy thing to be a part of. And we were because everyone bought the song, we were able to give a check for $250,000 to our kids in New York City, and they flew in to meet us and come to the show.
That's a beautiful
And we presented them with a check, and our goal is by the end of the year to give them $1 million. Like, so we're out here championing the song, and this is a thing that's larger basically for rock music. It's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Because the other genres of music and Billboard, and we're getting attention from Rolling Stone and Billboard and doing these interviews, and they're like, how does it feel, to be everyone says rock is dead, and here you guys are doing this, and I'm like, it's not. It's not dead. It's absolutely not. Look at this festival. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It's not a festival. This is 4 bands playing an amphitheater tour, and half the shows are all sold out.
Yeah.
So tell me how rock is dead. I don't really, obviously.
No, I'm having a hard time seeing it as well.
Yeah. We might not get invited to walk on the red carpets because we're too gnarly, but that's the thing. The higher ups and the pretty people, they don't want to see real artists, because if they let real people in, it's going to show how fake everything else is.
You have an interesting point with that. I think that's
very true.
Super quick, I wanted to touch on something before we wrap up. I just find interesting about you. You're sort of a sobriety coach to people. You've been through some been through some stuff, and you help people in their own recovery. And I wanted to mention that because having from the outside looking in, seeing I'm straight edge, but I've seen a lot of people struggle with it and sort of have come to me and been like, how do you do it? I'm like, I don't know, man. I just do it my whole life. I think you need to be talking to someone else, and really they need to be talking to someone like you. What's how did that wind up happening?
Well, essentially, when I moved from New York to LA, and I just I grew up in a working class community, and I grew up drinking. I had a job when I was 12. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I drank when I was 13, and we were kids. That's what we did.
Yeah.
And so I think that when I moved to LA, I got involved in the party scene, and it just wound up taking me. And some people, I hear from all different people because I work in this field and I kind of live in this field, and sobriety is a big part of my life. It's like kind of the primary force by which I can do all the other things that I do, is make sure that I'm sober first, and then I can't handle anything else.
Make sure you're sober first, then the ancillary income looks after itself.
Yeah, well, it's not about money. It's about
I'm
about
kidding.
the stuff you can't buy. It's like having a spiritual sense of peace in your heart, which I never really had until I grasped the principles of sobriety and a different principle of living. And for everybody, I come across a lot of people. Some people do 12-step programs. Some people are not into that, and but it's really about having that shift. I have friends like you who maybe they had a parent or a relative who did drugs and drank, and so as a young person they were like, I will never do this, and they stuck to it. Mm-hmm. And then there are people like me who I got wrapped up in it, and it cost me everything, and then I had to make a change. I had to make a decision, and it was hard to do on my own. And so I got involved in a community of people, and I still am in touch with a lot of people in the music industry who we just have each other's back. We check in. We're like, hey, how do you feel? How are you doing? And it's good to have a support system and a network. And I think that's for anybody who thinks that it's a weak thing to get sober. It's not. It's the strongest thing a man can do or a person can do is say, hey, I don't know and I need help, because that's how things change.
I think that's so important what you just said, and not just for matters of sobriety, but all sort of issues of there's absolutely no shame in asking for help, whether it be sort of a mental health situation, whether it be a sobriety situation. Yeah. And I think what you said, there's true strength in being able to ask for help. That's a beautiful thing to say. And anyone who's listening that does need help, know this. Tommy says That's cool, and it'll show that you're a strong person. And if you want to see this guy inspire you even further, make sure you get here to the show in time to see their show this evening.
That's right. We're going at 6 o'clock.
Going at 6 o'clock, so
right.
Pedal to the floor, my friends. Make it here quickly but safely so that you can see the guys in Bad Wolves do their thing. Tommy Vext, I could talk to you forever and ever. This has been great. I hope you'll come back.
Thanks, man. I'm grateful to be here. Thank you guys for having us, and thank you for all your support. And we're going to have a good time tonight. It's going to be a party.
Awesome.
Another head hangs slowly, child is slowly taken, and the violence causes silence. Who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their drones. In your head, they are crying. What's in your head? In your head. Stop it, stop it, stop it. What's in your head? In your head. Stop it, stop it, stop it. Another mother's breaking, heart is taking over. When the violence causes silence, we must be